everyone. So these are the 40 lines of Usher, The Fall of the House of Usher. As you know, it's another story that we read of Poe. Basically, you need to remember that this is the beginning of this 40 lines represents the beginning of the story, and it's quite representative of the setting. How remember that typical romanticism and typical Gothic literature is that themes of death, darkness, and decay are constantly repeated here. So it's interesting how you will see it in the text, okay, and how strong it sounds. So let's have a look at the beginning, all right? The choice of, look at the first line. As you can see here, we have during the whole of a dull, dark, and soundless day in the autumn of the year. Okay, so dull, dark, soundless day. It's of course alliteration, as we have the repetition of the D sound, but it's more important the actual repetition of the vowel sounds, which is called assonance. So dull, dark, soundless day. We have this sense of oppression, of sadness. The setting is already from the very beginning of the first line. We have this setting of something dark and sad that's going to happen. So again, this is foreshadowing of what is to come. Remember those specific words that will help you convey your idea in a more eloquent manner. Okay, so we have this choice of sounds that create this dull kind of dark mood. If you continue reading, we have a look at again, I'm sorry I don't have it here, but the yellow is always diction, okay? And look at the choice of words. We have oppressive, alone, dreary, melancholy, insufferable, gloom, desolate, terrible. All of this is a depressing, they all resemble a depressing kind of, of setting. So what the writer is trying to do is put the reader in this sense of everything is dark, everything is depressing, something horrible is going to happen. And then look at the mood. Look at the mood, that's the atmosphere that they're trying to create. The clouds hung oppressively low in the heavens. So, we have those low clouds, a dreary tract of country. So those singular paths in the countryside where people are alone. There's a sense of insufferable gloom pervaded in my spirit. So again, we have the voice speaking in the first person. We don't know much about the voice yet. We do know that he's Roderick Usher's close friend, and that's why he's gone to visit the main character. But the approach that he has, he's starting to ride in to the house of Usher, to his friend's house. Okay, so the view of the melancholy of the house of Usher. So from the beginning already, we know that something sad, depressing is going to happen. As we move on, the visual imagery that is created, okay, becomes stronger, okay, upon the mere house. So I looked upon the scene before me. So from the beginning, we see here the house. Its simple landscape feature the domain upon the bleak walls, upon the vacant eyes, upon a few white trunks of decayed trees. So the mere house, simple landscape, bleak walls, vacant eye-like windows, we have a sense of emptiness. Okay, so this is again foreshadowing. This visual imagery is foreshadowing of what is to come, of how this house is so empty that it's going to, disappear. So we see that at the beginning something is dark. Now something is, it just doesn't make sense. There's a sadness towards this that it's horribly, it's explained fantastically how horrible, the reader should be feeling. So in line 10 where it says vacant eye-like windows, it's a simile. The windows look like eyes and they're empty. As you know, eyes in literature is a symbol of the soul. So the fact that the windows look like eyes, remember that throughout the story, the house seems like to be, it's used as a symbol of the House of Usher is the actual family name. How after these two brother and sister, the brother and sister die, they do not have this link anymore. Okay, so the House of Usher, the family name, dies with them. So the sadness of this, the vacant eye-like windows, the house is being used as a personification. So the description of this sadness, of this emptiness, is quite revealing of what is to come. Okay, remember that in the purple we have always metaphor. Okay, hideous dropping off the veil. So let's have a look where it says, with an utter depression of soul, which I can compare to no earthly sensation, more properly than to the after dream of reveling upon opium, the bitter lapse into everyday life, the hideous dropping off of the veil. The dropping off of the veil resembles that. It could also mean as an illusion when in biblical times the dropping of the veil meant that eyes were open. We're talking about when Jesus came and Jesus resurrected and the veil was open and people were able to see. So the whole idea of dropping of the veil means that everything is made clear and there's no longer, when you're a child, you're protected. Now he's an adult, so he sees clearly the sadness of this house, of this people. So look at line 14 again. The choice of language, the diction is quite strong. Iciness, sinking, sickening, dreariness, torture. These particular expressions mean that there's something horrible, okay? So it's not just sad, but this is scary. They're trying to make you feel scared. Okay, so the sinking of the heart, the unredeemed dreariness of thought with no goading of the imagination could torture into aught of the sublime. So anybody can be, this emptiness, this revelation of emptiness is what's going to cause this torture. The emptiness, remember, we have it from the beginning. So you can see how the themes are progressing through. We have emptiness, we have, terrifying, then opening, and then we're scared again. So there's a rhetorical question, line 16 and 17, and the narrator's trying to connect with us. So what was it, I paused to think, what was it that so unnerved me in the contemplation of the House of Usher? The rhetorical question, it's different to other stories. He's not actually trying to connect with the reader. He's trying to raise a question so you also think it, but he's not talking to us directly. He's thinking about himself, the voice. So it was a mystery of all insoluble, nor could I grapple with a shadowy fancy that crowded upon me as I pondered. I couldn't think for myself. I just did not understand what was this feeling that I had. He's feeling dreary, cold, scared, empty. He doesn't quite understand why. Again, the choice of language, unsatisfactory, sorrowful, vacant, ghastly, gloom, grey, shudder, all are scary. This diction here it's scary again, it's ghastly, it's gloomy, it's vacant, it's empty, it's dark. Okay? And the grey sedges, the choice of the word grey is fantastic because it's not black or white, it's nothing, it's worse. So this emptiness is, we don't know what's going on. Again, the repetition of the eye-like windows, and again, vacant eye-like windows. Okay, so this emptiness of the soul of what we're about to experience. In line 30 and 31, we finally get to meet this character, Roderick Usher. Its proprietor, Roderick Usher, has been one of my boon companions in boyhood, but many years had elapsed since our last meeting. So we know that the voice was close friends with Roderick in the past, as they were children. They must have grown up together, but through the years, they kind of broke off. But it was such a strong, important friendship that even though there's a certain time had elapsed, the writer we're talking about, Roderick writes to his friend, asking, please come, I have acute body illness. Again, this is a very serious illness that he has. He's got mental disorders. Of course, foreshadowing what's to come. But again, mental disorder, remember, is one of the typical issues that Poe brings through many of his short stories. The mental incapacity that oppresses the characters is quite interesting, how the way that Poe delivers and explains it. He has an earnest desire to see him. So Roderick's friend went to visit him because of this earnest desire to see him. He sees that he's not mentally okay. There's a sense of, of trying to see, and indeed his only personal friend. So he makes reference that Roderick has no other friends. He has this friend from his childhood, and then many years had gone past, and he no longer had made any friends. So there's a strange situation there. And then we have a metaphor at the end that says, the apparent heart that went by the request. He was touched by, it was the apparent heart that went with the request, means saying it was the apparent love. He felt the love that Roderick had towards his friend, and that is why he came to see him. So throughout this text, what we can see is that the theme of darkness, the theme of alone, of vacant, of the scariness, the gloominess of typically found in Gothic fiction is clearly seen here. This is the start of the story. So from the very beginning, remember that the introduction of a story is to set the scene. And we have a horrible scene here of sadness, of decay, of gloom that's going to it's going to help us foreshadow and understand the rest of the story.